definitely ways that crosstalk allows you to, make things talk to each other in a cross kind of way. It is a bit finicky. I know. Oh, Laura's saying she got Shiny to work. There are some bits within, I can't remember. I think somebody did do a cross-talk demo and also using, I can't remember, what's the flex dashboards things as well. I'm trying to remember. I think it was John Cusack. So maybe give him a shout around crosstalk. I'm sure he did a demo and I'm pretty sure he did put a repo up. So that's going back some. I think it actually might be on the futures. So that'll be good. Right. I'm going to do a bit of a series of functions of the week. They're all very connected, and you may or may not have used these before. They're very cool. Let me share my things. They are part of the tidyverse, and this is the across function, and which is also linked to what is it also linked to? It's also linked to if all and if any. So I am going to attempt to do some live coding and spell really badly as I go. I do have some notes I made earlier, but do shout out if I make hideous mistakes and things go on. So head any attendances. So just going to start with my absolute favorite tutorial data set, which is the AE attendances. And if we look at this, I've just obviously brought through 100 observations. It's a time series. We've got an organization code. We've got one type 1, 2, and other. And we've got a column for attendances, breaches, and admissions. So hopefully that will make sense. Hopefully you've seen this before. So let's just do something to start with. That means is that. So absolutely classic. Just going to do a very quick mutate. Mean attend equals mean attendances. So just create a new column in my data set. And as we can see now, I've got a mean for, well, haven't grouped it anything, so it's a mean across the entire lot of attendances, which is great. And obviously, if I wanted to do multiple things, the probably standard way to do it would be mean breaches equals mean breaches, etc. And I would build that up one by one. Oops, where are we? And add each one as I go along, which is great, but massively time consuming. If I wanted to do lots and lots and lots, and I'd have to do each one all along. So I am going to upload a commented version. I'm also just going to say out loud, I'm going to use mean, and I'm not going to do NA remove equals true, which obviously we should always do within our mean and median functions. I'm just not going to do it because I'm going to be lazy. So that's obviously, we can do that, and we can do it one by one, and I could pick it column by column by column by column. But sometimes you have to do that across. We have to apply a function to a whole load of columns all at once. So this is where the lovely across function comes in. So let's have a look at what we can do with across. That then. So what we can do is we can do across. And we can feed in a vector of attendances and breaches. Excuse me. And tell it we want to do the mean of those. So if I run that one, and I can't spell, excuse me. If we look at our data across now, it has done more or less exactly the same, apart from it's overwritten the columns with the means. So maybe that's not quite what we want, but it's probably close enough. Maybe if we want to give them something new, we can do that. However, that could still be quite lazy. So if I wanted to do it across attendances, breaches, and whatever the other one is, admissions, that could be quite time consuming because again, I'm going to have to type them all out. So across is a really nice function in that it can take various different bits. So instead of saying across attendances and breaches, I could say I want to do it across where is numeric. And basically that's just, oh, and this is a bit of a weird bit. You don't have the open close brackets afterwards in the is numeric. So now look across my data frame, and where we've got a numeric variable, it will create the mean. So if I look at my data across now, you can see it's created a mean for each one. Which is kind of useful. I mean, obviously it's not much different from a summarize at this stage, but you can kind of hopefully see what's doing. What's also quite nice about the across function is not just we can use aware, we can also use sort of tidy select. So we can do things like contains, and we can look at all our variable names and anything that contains an ES. So that should be our attendances and our breaches. And if we run that one and we look at our data across, as you can see, it's done that on our attendances and breaches. So that's got contains. We could do contains, we could do start with, we could do ends with, various different things. And that would, so we could do end with S, and that should pick up attendances, breaches, and admissions if we did that. Just double check if it does. Yes, it does. Fantastic. So that's kind of nice. What we could also do is, because it does weird tidy select stuff, if we got this where is numeric, we could also put that within a vector and then say we want where is numeric, except we don't want breaches. And then we could do something like that. So it's going to look across, find everything that's numeric, and then do it not to the breaches. So if we look at that and run that one, and we look at our data across, we can see it's applied it to this attendances, breaches, and admissions. I will get to the good bit where it's actually go, that's really great, but I could do that in a summarize. But we will get to that, the good bit. Well, we'll get to a good bit now, because what we can also do is, if I copy, that was probably the one to copy. So we've got that one, and we can also add in a, so we can add a couple of extra bits in there. We can do dot names equals mean underscore, and then the name of the column. So now we're going to create a new column, which will be the mean, which is that, I think. And if we look at data means now, yeah, you can see now I've created two new columns now. So I've got my new mean. Oh, I got only two. That doesn't make sense. Where is numeric? And my data across. I was looking at the wrong one, that's why. So yeah, so now I've got attendances, breaches, and admissions, and now I've got a new column because I've done give them a name now, and it's created mean attendances, mean breaches, and mean column, which is pretty cool. Where this becomes a lot more useful is if I pull that through, and if I remember, work out all my get me commas right. So in between there, I can give it a dot by, and let's just say org code and period. So now we're actually getting into more useful territory. So if we look at my data across now, I've grouped it by the month and the organization code. So now I've got a mean so mean number of attendances, which is a mean of that. We've got a mean of this, and we've got a mean of this. So just double check. So mean of, where are we? 5060, 0, 0 is, well, that's weird. Is that right? That should be the mean of that. That looks more right. Why does, I don't know, mean does weird things. Maybe it's not that. And then let's try mean of one of those other ones to check it. 21289. So I've got to put a C in there, haven't I? That's why 2879. Come on. 6, and I haven't put the right numbers in. 813 and 2850. There we go. So the mean of those three attendances is indeed 83710. Weird. And if I go back to this one, and if I put that in a vector, that should give me 1686. Yeah, we go. Fantastic. Phew. Right. So that's starting to be a little bit more useful now. So we've got that one. We can also get cleverer, and we can use sort of lambda functions, which start using a tilde and a dot, and start building up, sort of make our own sort of functions, and put the column names in there. So let me take this one and carry on here. So instead of mean, we're going to kind of create our own function, and just going to start with just with the sum, and we use a dot to just, that's the sum of we use dot as a placeholder for our column. So if we do that one, what that should do, if we look at our data across, now gives us the total number of attendances for RF4 in that period is 249. And yeah, we can see, obviously, if we add up 560 plus 0 is 560. So, which is great, but obviously sum isn't the most exciting function that we can add in there. But what if we did the number divided by the sum of the number times 100? And we could change that to percentage. So we can get the single value divided by the sum of that value grouped times by 100, and that should give us our percentages across the column. So if we look at that now, we can see that that's our total. So our total would be the 212 plus the 813 plus the 2850 divided by the number will give us our percentage. So 21289 is 85%. That makes up 3%, and that's 11%. And I guess if we look at the admissions where we've got a number and 00, we can see that obviously that makes up 100, and those make up zeros. So if you want to create your percentages across percentages across a load of columns quickly, that's quite nice. What else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? So yep, let's take that one. So sometimes, let's say if we wanted to calculate we want to show our denominators and our numerators and our percentage. So we want to do several things within our within our column. So let's just get rid of names for a moment. And let me just try to keep on top of my brackets. Yeah, I'm right. So we now want to put this into a list, and then we can feed it a couple of things to do. So we can do that. So we're still doing our percentage, and we're going to bring out our denominator. And we are going to do close that list, which we can do there. Then we've got that one, and we're still doing it there. So hopefully, if I haven't got it horribly wrong, there we go. So now we've got our percentages and our denominator, or is it the numerator? I can never remember which one is which. So if we did 21289 divided by 24924, oops, excuse me, 249,952 equals 0.83, which is, yeah, obviously I times it by 100 and I say that times 100 equals 85.31, blah, 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 blah. Fantastic. So, yeah, so it's calculated all those lovely columns and thing. As you can see, it's just given it a column name automatically of 1 and 2. The 1 just refers to, that's the first function, and the 2 refers to the second function, which isn't very helpful. Well, it's helpful for us, but we would like to have it a little bit more named, because that's going to be, I'm going to come back to it tomorrow and go, what on earth does attendance 1 mean? So we can add a, because we're using a list, we can make this a named list. So we can change that to percentage equals, and we can change that to total equals. And if we run that one and have a look at it now, we now have got attendances percentage, attendances total, breaches percentage, breaches total, etc., etc. So looking much better. You may have noticed we have got some nans in here. Not going to deal with those now, but obviously in some of these cases we're looking at a naught divided by something or other. Yeah, so obviously it's coming out with a nan. In case anybody's worried about those, always worry about your nan is a good plan. So that's one way round of doing the naming. Another way we can do it, if I remember where to put this, we can use the names function again. So if I pop that in, where do I want to pop that? I do want to pop that there, I think. Dot names equals, and then we can swap it around with a bit of jiggery monkery. Underscore dot col. Let's call that underscore there. So the dot fn, because we've called this percentage and we've called this the name of our function, we were going to put that first, and then we'll bring the name of the column through. So instead of what do we have just now? We had attendances percentage. It should swap it round the other way round now and say percentage attendances, if I've got all my brackets in the right place, which, let's not get too excited, which I did. Look at me. I would wholeheartedly recommend using Styler for this, and absolutely 150% stick to using tidy, lovely, really as tidy as you can stuff around how you format your code, because trying to work out which bit, I haven't got my rainbow parentheses switched on, but trying to work out where each of these bits sit and which bit is in which bit gets really, really confusing really quickly. So that's kind of date across, and like I say, it's fantastic. So, if we look at that, what we've achieved, we've created those percentage and total columns all in one go across the board, and it's doing it across every single numeric variable. So if we had obviously a bigger data set, you can really specify, I want it on this, and this, and bash, it would pull that all through, and you can do some sort of clever bits. Also part of the across family is the if, any, and if else. No, not if else, if all. And they sort of sit within filtering. So these are quite nice little features. So data filter equals that, and then if I remember how to do this, so obviously filter, and then if any, so if any of breaches or admissions that are tilde greater than 5. So it's going to look across breaches and admissions, and if either of those has got a value greater than 5, it will filter to that. And obviously, even I spotted that one, which is good. I got that right. So data filter, you can see now that in my breaches and admissions, at least one of those is over 5, which is cool. So yeah, that's what that one is doing. Again, this if any, rather than just doing I could do if any of the numerics is over 5 or whatever. It takes all those lovely tidy select type features that you can chuck in there, which is cool. So we can also do a data filter and do that. Filter. Actually, why don't I just copy the one above, because that would be much quicker, wouldn't it? So I could change that to if all, and so that's going to check breaches and admissions, and if they are both over 5, it will filter to those. So let's have a look at that. And again, we can see, yep, that's filtered through, and it's only filtering through where both breaches and admissions are over 5, which is quite cool. We can also use if all and if any within a mutate statement as well, in a kind of a weird way, but quite like it in that it's an alternative to the horrible or statement, which I thoroughly recommend you never use ors, because they always get far too confusing for anybody to actually try to work out what is going on. So I'm going to try to do a mutate and add a flag to say, are all the values over 10, or are they not all over 10? So going to create a new variable, all over 10, and that's just I'm going to create a little if else statement. Else, and so if all, and I'm just going to do across, well, my equivalent of across is numeric. Again, remember to remove the open close brackets on the is numeric. Not quite sure where it does that. It's about yeah, it's a very strange thing. And then I'm going to do my tilde greater than, actually, let's make it over, I don't know, 1,000? No, 10 will do. Dot greater than 10, and So my true will be all over 10, not all, oops, all over 10. And I think I've got a, what have I got? I've got an extra bracket. Is that looking right? This is where it all gets, there we go. I've got an extra dot in there. Right, so let's see if that worked. Okay, cool. So obviously in this first instance, all three of those were over 10. So I've got an all over 10. And in this instance, not were all over 10. So I've got a not all over 10, which is quite nice. We could also do is any. Which is, let's just change that to, I don't know, over 1,000. Because I think there's quite, most of them are over 10. And that will be at least one over thing. And that would be none over 1,000. That'd be right. If any. So there we go. At least one over 1,000. And that's saying none over 1,000. Have I got anywhere? Yeah. Oh, hang on, that's wrong, isn't it? Oh, because I've got, there we go, because I have done all, and that should be any, shouldn't it? Let's have another look again, if any. Do it, none over 1,000. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, at least one over 1,000. Yeah, which is quite a nice thing to do. However, 100 and gazillion %, I would recommend doing this instead. Oh, attendances I can't spell. There we go. Not better. No, can't spell breaches either. And I can spell emissions. So 100% would recommend you just change your data into tidy format. And then if you wanted to do a whole load of functions across various things, you can do then a group by name instead, which would be 100 million times quicker. And also, yeah, a lot easier to read. So I would definitely recommend put your data into tidy format and do it. However, if you do have data that you put it into tidy format and then make it wider when it comes to sort of presentation, etc. I always think that computer wise, when you're doing wrangling, etc., it's much easier to work with long data. However, when you want to view it and make it human readable, I find wider data are much more human readable. So I will I'll comment some of all that stuff up and I will pop it into somewhere. I will pop, what's the word I'm looking for? A repo. That's what I mean. Don't know if anybody's got any questions or queries on across. Was that useful? I've been on mute for the last 10 minutes. Cool, lots of thumbs ups and claps. That's nice to see. Thank you very much. Any questions on across? Has anybody used it before? There are some older versions. If you look in older dplyr, there's like a mutate if and a mutate all and bits and pieces. But I think across supersedes all of that. I think those are being depreciated quite soon. So cool. No comments. Emma.
Hi there, and thank you very much for the presentation. I'm a grad trainee. I'm completely new to coding.
Oh, right.
So just checking, when you say you put this in a repo, like where do they go? Because it'll be really useful to have kind of references and things from these sessions.
Yeah. So basically, they will be. I'll put a link and we will send it through. But basically, they all get chucked into my. Well, I usually put them under me. But yeah, I will make a GitHub repository. If I find one that we've done previously. What did we do before? Early EDA and twirly text was the what we did last week. So basically, it'd be here, and then if you go into the code here, there will be all the code that we've done with sort of comments of what we did and various bits and pieces. So I'll make a repo. This recording will be available, and also so we will also sort of share the GitHub as well. So there's also C across for row-wise calculations. You got a quick way of how to do that? If you've got a quick demo I can add into here, or do you want to talk me through one? Have you
I'm literally on the spot now. So we could there's an alternative to the if any example.
All right.
So instead of doing if any, we could do a row-wise open bracket, close bracket, and then just mutate. And rather than using across, we can use the C across. So that's how we almost use a wildcard to, or whatever way, like what you mentioned earlier, like start with or end with, to select the number of columns, or whether we want to do column-wise sort of calculation, but for a specific role. So that, and obviously we need to do an ungroup after that, otherwise it could potentially be, I'm not gonna put everyone through the pain of live coding probably, but just
if you have 2 minutes just to knock up a really quick example on the NHS-R data sets, on that data set that I've just had, I'm more than happy to sort of add it onto the end. That would be quite useful.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I'll just make sure that it's on there so people can see that. Yeah, row-wise is really dangerous in that the grouping bit, that's got me so many times without realizing. It's mainly because I've got into good practice and I use my dot-bys now most of 99% of the time. So I forget about row-wise does grouping, and it groups your data frame without you necessarily realizing it. Yeah, so that's to be aware of. Going back, Emma, I mean, obviously, if you are looking at sort of getting some R training and sort of further sort of code development stuff, obviously, I would give a shout out to the sort of the wider NHS-R community. Obviously, you sort of managed to find out you must have gotten to their website to sign up to here, I hope. But if you go into the NHS-R community, there are various sort of training courses and bits and pieces there where we sort of, try to train people through. I think it's really nice that it is run by your peers, and it's also run by people, and all the stuff that we do in there is all based on health data. So again, we're not calculating the quarterly sales of North region. We're tackling the kind of issues that we have with our NHS type data. So would give those a shout out. On that, I know Zoe's gone, but we are trying to do a bit of a shout out around trying to get those trainer slots filled in for next year, or this year, I mean. So there are quite a lot of people on the waiting list wanting either introductory or intermediate training. Shout out for trainers. All the materials are out there and available. If you are a little bit uncertain about, I kind of think I could do it, but I'm not 100% sure. Sorry, I stopped sharing. You can come on as a co-pilot to one of the existing trainers and just sort of watch them go through it and just be there as an extra pair of eyes and hopefully learn from that. And yeah, we really want to sort of, that there's such a lot of demand out there for training. And we really want to offer as much sort of free and peer supported training as possible. And obviously this session here is a session where hopefully you can go to those, and if you still have any questions or whatever, you can come here, and we're more than happy to have a look at any queries that people have got, and try to break that down and help people in whatever way, or signpost them wherever. Yeah. So where are we? We're about 10 to. I'm out really. I've no idea how long that was going to take. To be honest, I gave myself an extra 5 minutes because when I was just writing some notes and doing some tests last night, I got my brackets so wrong. If you watch my version that I was playing with last night, the brackets are just an absolute nightmare to get all these bits all in the right place. And I did use the lovely styler add-in, if nobody has seen that, to sort of style it, because I was mine was all kind of like, I can't remember what it was like. It was kind of like this to start with, and it got really hard to try, especially if I'd like missed the bracket somewhere. It became really, really, really hard to work out where and what and how, etc. So that's, hopefully that still works. I didn't mess it up. But yeah, definitely download the styler package and use styler, and that massively helped put things in a much neater and more readable and much more traceable tracking of brackets. Cool. I think Zoe's ran away because I think she had to go off early. Are there any questions? Any requests? I don't know. Is there anything you'd like to see for next time? Has anybody got anything? Please step off and sort of say, I've got this thing I'd really love to show off and get some advice on. Joseph.
Yeah, sorry, thanks. Just asking about the trainer thing that you mentioned. Is there a link for further information for that?
I don't think there is. Either give Zoe a direct shout or give me a shout, and yeah, we can forward that details on. I think she was just putting the list together, and yeah, if you want to put your name down either as direct training or shadow somebody first and go through it, then yeah, that would be awesome.
And is the idea it's essentially introductory, showing people how R works, getting them feeling comfortable with it?
We've got full materials, and it's basically from absolute scratch. We kind of assume that they probably got a little bit of Excel knowledge, or maybe that's probably like the basis level. If you kind of at least understand what data looks like, at least as an Excel level. Obviously, if somebody has got some SQL experience or whatever, we try to convert it into sort of SQL terms as well. But yeah, all the training materials are all completed and available. So, and it's, we've got recordings of the training on YouTube if you just want to go and have a look at there. But there is something about having it live, doing that code along, having people make mistakes. I think it's really, quite nice doing that online, because people can share their screen and you can almost get like peer support from the other learners going, oh, you've got that bracket in the wrong place, or the comma, or you've made that a capital rather than not a capital, or whatever. Or all those things that we all go through, goodness knows how many times as we're learning, and believe me, still do to this day. Let's be honest, getting my variable names wrong, etc. But yeah, all the training materials are there. We've got an intermediate, we've got a beginner's course, and we've got like an intermediates course. Both of them are one day, or we can split them up and do. Sometimes it's quite nice to sort of split them out do them into sort of 2 4-hour days, because it's 2 long half days is a lot less than one really long slog through it, but whatever really. So yeah, if anybody is interested in becoming a trainer, would really appreciate it, because as I said, there's lots of people out there desperate to learn, and yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, either give me or Zoe a shout. Any other questions or queries? Otherwise, I will give you 2 minutes back to go and do whatever you need to do. Benjamin.
Hey there, I'm actually fairly new to R myself. I know that we had talked about it earlier with the how to publish a Shiny dashboard. Outside of that, is there like a currently accepted way among the NHS community? For example, I just polished off a Shiny dashboard and I'm trying to figure out how to get that to my doctor so that they can play around with it. But if they don't have R themselves, is there a currently accepted way?
No, it's a very, very short answer. Is it publicly available data or is it private?
No, it's very private.
Yeah, if it's publicly available, you can put it on like Shiny apps and Shiny IO, and there's places there. However, if you want it to be private, then yeah, it needs to go on a private server somewhere, and that involves, you know, having a lovely chat with your IT department and getting that sorted. There are free versions of the Shiny server, so it is possible to do for free. However, it does take quite a lot of IT input in to do that. Or you go for a paid for version, but obviously that involves pound signs and you've got to go through the whole sort of procurement process. We are hoping that with you know, the FDP, that would be a single environment where people would be able to do these types of things. So yeah, we're not. Yeah, it's the short answer is no. Sorry, but do give Zoe a shout. I know they were looking at CSUs. Some of the CSUs were looking at clubbing together and coming up with a Shiny solution. So there might be something might be there. So again, might be worth giving Zoe a shout or popping it out on the Slack channel. Pablo.
Oh, yeah, some really nice explanation of this across function. Just one quick question, Sam. Has anyone like used this across functions to build in combination with a GT package to create really elaborate tables? That sounds to me like it's really a good combination to use with the GT package.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I've done exactly that. So I've started with that really basic data, done my across functions to work out my denominators and percentages, and then converted those into sort of a GT package where you could have you could have the percentage with the brackets with the denominator, numerator sort of afterwards, etc. So yeah, yes, I have. I'm not sure if I've got any published versions of that. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I'll have to have a look.
Nice. I will try out. Really nice example. Thank you.
But yeah, but I would still recommend just pivoting your data and working with it in proper long format rather than wide format. It's a heck of a lot less hassle, but yeah, across still works. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm only going to give you 2 minutes back now, unless there's any other final questions or queries. No. All right. I'll give you 2 minutes back. Thank you ever so much for coming. Do tell your friends about us and share the word. And yeah, and do get in touch if there's anything you want to show off. Thank you ever so much, and catch you soon. Cheers all.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.